Welcome to another episode of It's Settled, the Ametros podcast, where you'll hear authentic stories of overcoming adversity after a life-changing injury and how injured workers and industry experts are making a difference. I'm Shawn Deane, General Counsel at Ametros.
And I'm Melissa Coleman, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Ametros. If today's episode inspires you, please subscribe and leave a review to help us reach more listeners facing similar situations.
Now, it's settled. Let's get on to the episode and explore the human side of workers' comp and insurance claims. It's settled. My name is Shawn Deane. I'm General Counsel here at Ametros and also co-host of the It's Settled Ametros podcast. And today I have the wonderful fortune of hosting this episode with some of my favorite people and colleagues here at Ametros. In celebration of Women's History Month, I'm joined by three amazing women and mothers, and we'll be discussing their careers in the insurance and settlement services industry, talk about leadership, and also balancing work and family life and raising children. And we're very grateful to have with us Allison Kelly, who leads our sales team, Melissa Coleman, who leads marketing, and Tina Chirichiello, who is like jack of all trades. Been here, Tina, how long? A decade?
11 years.
11 years. I'm off by a year. Thank you so much for joining as guests. Allison and Melissa specifically are used to kind of joining on the other side of the mic as co-hosts with me. So it's great to have you on as a guest and let our viewership learn more about you. And I can think of no better way than kicking this off and no better way to celebrate Women's History Month than giving us your own history. So your career origins. And I'm going to start with Allison, with you. How did you get here?
Well, like most people, and I try not to, make fun and say I fell into it, but I really did. It's the workers' comp space is in my DNA. My mom is in the business. I graduated from college thinking I was going to get a big fancy job in Austin, like most, newly graduated college kids in Texas do. And 6 months later, living at home with my mom, substitute teaching at the middle school that I went to, I tucked tail and went to my mom and said, please help me find a big girl job. And so she helped me with my resume and said, I will help you with your resume. I will send it out to my network. I will help you get a job, but I cannot help you keep a job. And so I started out my career in field sales and area sales in a referral-based nurse case management cost containment company. So I did area sales there. And then kind of once I figured out what the workers' comp space was and still didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up, I knew I wanted to kind of figure out what the rest of the industry had to offer. And so I spent some time in underwriting and I spent some time as a broker on the insurance side and found my way into claims and spent the majority of my career, 15 years on the claims side at a large international TPA before finding my way to Ametros. So I was a partner at Ametros with Ametros for a long time on the claims side before finding my way here. So I keep my adjuster's license. I tell everybody I'm a recovering adjuster. It's like the one joke that I make. But so it's been a whirlwind 22 years in the business, and I love it. I love it so much. And although it started with help from my mom, I am so thankful that I'm here and that I've had the career that I've had, and I'm thankful for all the help and the people along the way.
One of the many things I appreciate you for so much is, sometimes there's salespeople. They're really good at sales and strategy, and you have that in spades. But what I just love about working with you is you really care about the people and our members behind the claim and our clients, and you know so much about the claims process. As an attorney who's been in comp for nearly 20 years, like I don't have to, you immediately can get into the weeds on a really difficult case. And I think that's why you're so darn effective in your role, because literally you know more about claims than probably anyone in the whole organization. So
thank you.
I love hearing your background, and I think it'll help folks understand why you're so good at what you do. Melissa, moving on to you. And you have to tell me the Boston Bruins story because I only heard it like one time a long time ago. But what was there's no roadmap to get to marketing in the insurance space. What was your road like?
Yeah, so I interned at the Boston Bruins, which is what Shawn is referring to. So I was a youth hockey and community service intern. I do not skate, more on the community service side, so like hospital visits, things like that. But I went to school. I actually applied as an English major, then thought I wanted to be pre-med. I did a semester of pre-med. I was convinced I was going to be like a pediatrician. And then I had to dissect a frog, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. And ended up switching my major to marketing, which really, if you know me, I could talk about it for hours and hours and hours. So definitely found the best fit for me. But when I graduated school, similarly, I thought, I had interned at Harvard Medical School, the Boston Bruins, one of the advertising agencies in downtown Boston, and was convinced I was going to work for like a very large name organization. And then started my job search and accidentally applied to Ametros at midnight. And like through just like Indeed or some job board, and was going to try and use my offer at Ametros to leverage at Tufts like to get a different job. But I actually met with Porter Leslie, our former CEO, and fell in love with the mission of Ametros, fell in love with the company. Tina actually was one of the people that interviewed me. And really, I was our first marketing employee, so fell in love with the idea of being able to start this from scratch, like being able to see from no marketing at all through to, now we're a team of 15, which is incredible. So to be able to have that kind of just start it from scratch experience, I could not give that up. And that's how I ended up in work comp. I never knew that this existed. Kind of funny enough, my dad was an injured worker, but happened after I worked here. So had a little bit more insight into his experience, but had no idea that this industry existed, that there's so much opportunity here, but love being here.
I don't know anyone who's more creative than you are, and I think there are some skills that certainly can be taught, but creativity, at least in my estimation, is sort of innate in us. And you can parachute into any meeting and see stuff that no one else sees, and come up with like these brilliant ideas that no one else can come up with. So it's one of my favorite things as a subject matter person. In the substance of sort of what we do, like the legal nuts and bolts, I get to sort of exercise my creativity with you and bounce stuff off you, and you've been so supportive of me here. And I remember coming here and sort of, the general counsel role was new, and I was trying to find my way, and you and your team were so welcoming to me. And even like, stuff like having a sense of humor and goofing around about stuff when it can be really technical and dry. Like, it just made me feel so welcome, and you've built such an amazing team. Tina.
Shawn Deane.
And Tina, for our guests, she only calls me by my first and last name, and I think it's because it's monosyllabic, both my first and last. It just sort of rolls off the tongue, but it's a term of endearment for me. And if Tina calls me anything other than Shawn Deane, I sort of look at her funny. But
you're in trouble.
And so you're our longest tenured, one of our longest tenured team members here. How did you come to Ametros?
Very different than everybody else. I had been a stay-at-home mom for 11 years, and my youngest, she must have been going into first grade, and Michelle Del Nino posted a role on Facebook. And I thought, that looks cool. And at that time, I didn't even know Michelle. I just was friends with her sisters. So I applied for it, and I could not figure out what the heck the company was because the website didn't tell us anything. There was no marketing. So I applied for the job. I got it, and it was great for me because it was local to my house. I could still go to the kids' concerts. If I had a sick kid, I could go get them. There were many a time that I had a kid with me in the office. But it was such a family oriented environment that's how I got here. I was bored being a stay-at-home mom.
When I think of all the great attributes about you, Tina, like what really jumps out is one, just like team. Like you will raise your hand for anything, jump in if there's a question. You never let a question go unanswered. Like you will find an answer for someone, and you have this tenacity about you in the best possible way, to where if there's a difficult issue a member's going through, or there's a question, maybe someone on the sales side needs support, like you're always going to run down the answer. If I need help on something and it's some esoteric question, like you always seem to be able to find the answer. And we appreciate that about you, Tina.
Thank you, Shawn Deane. I
Um,
appreciate you.
you are all, whether you like it or not, you're all leaders here. At Ametros, and whether you set out on your career journey to be a leader, you certainly are, and we're so thankful. I know I personally am. I know everyone else at Ametros and our members and our clients are very thankful for your leadership qualities. Allison, for you, was there, coming up in the insurance industry specifically, was there a moment early on in your career when, what's the earliest point in time where you said, I want to grow into a leader or a leadership role?
Yeah, I grew up with a mom who was a working mom and who was always a leader, right? So I watched my mom kind of climb the corporate ladder from the time I was born. I mean, I tell the story of when I was little. I don't really remember it because it was way before I have, memories, but my mom commuted to Houston and back every day, from Dallas to Houston every day on a flight, because at the time the headquarters of the company that she works for was down in Houston. So she went on a 7 a.m. flight every morning to Houston. She worked a full day and then came back. And so she was leaving before we were up, and she was home, at late in the evening, just in time for bed. And so I watched my mom build this career and really showing us that you can be a leader and you can really have it all. You can have a family and a career. And so that was really inspiring to me as I went to college and as I got out of college and kind of got into my career. And so I knew pretty early on that I wanted to be a leader and keep my career, even as I, ended up meeting my husband and getting married and starting a family. That was something that I wasn't willing at the time. I didn't want to compromise on, right? I never knew how my feelings might change when I got married and have kids, but I didn't think that was going to change. That was pretty, I was pretty convicted in that I wanted to continue working. And so, yeah, I would say within, the first couple of years of my career, I thought this is what I'm going to do. I mean, I did get out of the industry for a couple of years because I wanted to be a wedding planner. And then I came back. Like, it was very clear to me that, like, no offense to all of the brides out there, but that was not for me. Like, I would much rather deal with injured workers and risk managers and claim managers than brides. So I came right back very quickly. So yeah, I would say early on, because I had a really good example of a female leader, in my house. So I was, early on. Long-winded way to answer that question, Shawn Deane.
Oh, thank you. Melissa, same question to you, and like more specifically, was this aspirational early on, or was it a matter of, you were in this position now with a growing team and you had to?
I think it's a mix, right? Similar to Allison, I also had a very strong role model in my mom, who was a working mother. But I think part of it was, circumstance of I started here at Ametros again, was the first marketing employee, and very quickly after that hired our first marketing intern for a position that didn't exist at the time, but we saw good talent, we brought it in. And she is still here to this day. She was, the first person that I ever managed. And as that team grew, I really found a love for managing people. I really do love seeing people reach their full potential and like empowering them and helping watch them grow. I think in some ways it's like my team were my first kids. They were like, I got to see them like take on new responsibilities and like accomplish new things. And there's such fulfillment in that for me. And then I think my leadership is constantly evolving too, as I continue to grow with the organization as well. I think I've seen myself change and change not my leadership style I like at its heart, but I think the way that I think about leadership has evolved throughout time. So I think it's just fun to see all of the different me's, I guess, that there are in my leadership.
Yeah. Love that. Thank you. Tina, what about you?
For me, when I came to work, I was really coming to fill my time while my kids were at school. And as these years have gone by, I never intended to come here and be a leader. I came here to bring myself back. My life was so dedicated to my children. That's all I gave. And as I came here and I found that I could be a leader here, I guess it came natural because I was a mom. I was managing a household. My husband, my children were very active. I was involved with the boards with hockey, cheer. I was always involved in a leadership role with those. So I guess it kind of came naturally here. And I love watching people succeed. I love watching people grow. When Melissa started, I put a date on our calendar for 1 year later because I said to her, I can't wait to talk to you in a year to see what you're doing at this company. And she had grown.
So there's some corollary here to all the answers around, you all care about your team members greatly. And I can see it day to day, mentoring and nurturing. And when I think of you all, I don't think about, you are managers of people, but I see you, I would use the word leaders, because all three of you are very strategically minded. And I can tell, I know it, you really care individually about your team members. And I wonder how, I'm leading into the question of how has motherhood, because you're all mothers to children at very different stages, in your life. Melissa, you're in the throes of it. Just had your second. Tina, you have, children in college. Allison, you're kind of in between Melissa and Tina, I guess. Allison, to you, how has motherhood changed you as a leader?
Motherhood has changed me in ways that I could never imagine. It's changed me as a leader, both at home and in the workplace, in very different ways. But I think the common thread is that it has made me much more of an empathetic person. And I am much more, I'm going to start crying talking about it. I'm much more of an emotional person now than I ever was before kids. But I can easily put myself in someone else's shoes now more than I could before, because I'm always thinking about how my actions and my reactions more so affect my kids. And now I understand how my actions and my reactions can affect my team and what that can do for our business and what that can do for development of up and coming leaders. And I always want to be very aware and self-aware of how I lead, even in those kind of silent moments, can affect someone who might be in the early stages of their career, like I was right out of college and looking up at some of the, leaders then. So it's definitely made me more self-aware. It's definitely made me more empathetic. And as you can tell, it's definitely made me more emotional.
Melissa, to you.
Yeah, I think it gave me a completely different perspective, I think, on work-life balance, and how I bring that into my leadership I feel like I've always said it's PR, not the ER, in marketing. Don't stress too much about it, but I feel like making space for people's lives outside of a job is so important to me now, not only because I have to do it, but so many of my team members have children. We recently just had a baby boom in marketing where 4 of us were pregnant. And I think it's kind of fun to see that people are in that stage of life, but also, I don't know, have the capacity to work and still build a career while they're having a family. I think, I obviously wasn't in the workforce 20 years ago, but I think the vibes were different at the time. And I don't know. I think that there's just much more space for children. I don't know if COVID changed that a little bit, but, we're in people's homes. And I just think we're a very child-friendly place. And I bring that into my leadership as like, bring your whole self to work, your kids, your family included. So motherhood has changed that for me.
I mean, I'll tell you what I've seen, because I've known you before you've had children and after. Like, there is a joy to you. Not that you weren't happy before, but like, man, when you bring your kids in or show me pictures of your kids or something, there's like a glow and a joy and a completeness to you that I'm like, wow, like it's so cool to see the before and after. It just makes me super happy for you. And
thank you.
And Tina, what about you?
For me, I think because I'm one of the oldest here, I think of everybody as kind of like my children. And I'm very open about motherhood. Everybody pretty much, they know my kids. I make my kids come here at the holidays to say hi to people. For me, I just think of everybody here almost like family. It's a lot of the people that work here, I brought here from, Michaela was Emma's substitute teacher. Some of the guys, I knew their moms from hockey. So for me, I think I'm a mother here. I'm a mother everywhere.
This is a specific question for you, Allison, especially someone who is part of a multi-generational insurance family and you've been in the biz for a while. The insurance industry has historically been a male-dominated arena. Have you seen that change over time? And sort of what are your perceptions and thoughts about that, if you're okay talking about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm okay talking about everything. I'm an open book, Shawn Deane. Listen, I definitely think it's changed, right? I think it's been, as a good Southern saying, it's slow as Christmas, right? I mean, but it is progressing, right? Those ceilings are being broken, whatever metaphor saying you want to use. So, I think we still have our fair share to go. But the wage gap is closing. The opportunities to sit at the boardroom or in the boardroom and at the table are increasing. I think we're already seeing that here in our own backyard with our leadership, with Andrea at the helm, with the female leaders at Webster. And so I think it's already, it's already starting to, or it has already started to change, and we're continuing to see that evolve. Like I said at the onset, I'm very fortunate that I had an example of a trailblazer, right? And someone who didn't settle for kind of status quo. And although she wasn't, marching down the street like picketing, she was making subtle changes that now I look back and say, wow, that was probably pretty difficult to have to travel every day for work. But she did it, to have a career and to make that change and to pave the way so that I could have this career that I have now. And so it's really cool. So I think, yeah, it's a challenge every day. Like when they look at you and you're like, just, oh, you're here. Like, no, I'm here for a reason, right? Like I have important thoughts and I have important things to say. And
specific question to you. So you lead a large team here. As a leader here at Ametros, how do you approach, or what are your thoughts on mentoring and supporting other women in the company?
I think it's so critical. I mean, I would not be here without the mentorship and leadership of other women. Allison mentioned Andrea. She's been a huge influence in my career as a woman executive. I think it's both from like having mentors perspective and, mentoring, like having both in your life. Being a mentor and mentoring is so important. I was lucky enough to participate in our parent company's Webster's mentorship program and was assigned a mentee. And her focus was on marketing data, which is completely, I'm not a math person. I'm definitely a creativity, but love to learn more about, data. And it was really valuable for me too, to have those conversations with her. I think mentorship is a two-way street. I forget who said it once, but it stuck with me, which was like, mentorship is really impactful when both people feel like they're taking more out of the conversation or away from the conversation than the other person. And so that's like something that I try to implement with my team as well, trying to spend a lot of time with them and really grow them, have knowledge of what they're interested in, where they want to be going, and helping them get there. I think, I've been lucky enough to have people jump over from other different teams and feel similarly that if they have career paths that are beyond marketing, like nurture them to go do that. It's beneficial for all of us to have good, talented people in our company, in our industry. So as much as we can lift people up and give them the skills and give them the confidence to get to their next level, it benefits us all.
Tina, to you, one of the things I admire about you is your ability. You've had many different roles here at Ametros, but you have this knack of being very effective with different stakeholder groups. Like you're great at talking to, if it's an insurance adjuster, if it's an attorney, if it's our member or an injured individual who's a prospective member. What skills have you honed and developed to navigate that world of being able to sort of, you can kind of talk to anybody?
I think because I put myself in other people's shoes all the time. How would my words have an effect on that? And I say this to my children, to my husband. Words have consequences and you can't take them back. So you really have to be thoughtful when you're saying things to people. And I live my life by that. I don't want to hurt anybody. If you have to critique somebody, there's a certain way to give feedback. But it's really important to me that I make the person on the other end feel okay.
We often talk as leaders about work-life balance. A lot of us parents say it's more like work-life integration. Some folks don't even really believe in that there's a work-life balance. All three of you have demanding professional jobs. You also have demanding roles as mothers and spouses, with a very busy professional and personal life. Allison, how do you, is the leader of a massive sales team here, with a lot of pressure, how do you do it? And you all three of you do it with such grace, and good humor and kindness.
Well, I don't know how to tell you how to do it. You just do it, right? You get up in the morning, and I live and die by an Outlook calendar and a shared Apple calendar. Those are really the two things that if Outlook and Apple ever go down on the same day, like my whole life is just, going where, because those are the two things that I live by. But, it's a delicate dance and a delicate balance. I am fortunate to have a support system at home that allows me to have the career that I have. And so having a husband who literally doesn't miss a beat when I'm gone, and sometimes I think prefers that I travel all the time, and manages the schedule of two kids in sports and doesn't even think about it or resent me 1 second for it, is incredible, right? So that's how I do it. It's not how I do it. It's how the people around me manage it and allow me really the opportunity to do it. And that's, goes back to the conversations that Bill and I had when we first started dating and talking about getting married. And when I said, I'm pretty convicted in my career and this is really important to me. And, so it's a good schedule. It's a good calendar. It's a good color coding system that we have. And it's open communication about, hey, listen, I'm going to be gone Tuesday to Friday. the kids have this, and he's like, I got it. Like, we're good. You know, if it's on the calendar, it's taken care of, basically. And so I also, shifting to the work side of it with my team, I tell my team, just because I'm up and working in a deck at 11 o'clock at night doesn't mean that you have to be, or you're expected to be working at a deck. Tina knows that I love to get in a PowerPoint and leave comments and make changes. But I do that a lot at night after my kids are in bed, after I've done the practices and the school plays and the homework. And so just because I'm doing that doesn't mean that I expect them to, and nor would I ever ask them to. I put a lot of IMs on delayed send and emails on delayed send, because I don't want people waking up or being disturbed on their family time. So, a lot of it happens when the kids are already asleep. And if I'm going to be sitting around watching, reality TV that is a mind suck, I might as well be doing something while doing it. So it's just kind of, a balance in figuring it out, what works best for you and your family. And I'm lucky to have, the support system around me that allows me to try to do it gracefully and to try to do it with some, a little bit of somewhat of a balance.
Melissa, what about you?
I think similarly to Allison, really lucky to be surrounded by a great support system too. Not only my husband, who watches my 2.5-year-old and 5-month-old when I need to travel, which is definitely a handful. But luckily my parents and my in-laws are nearby as well. So they're always willing to lend a helping hand, while I'm gone, or if I have an event that I have to do. So very lucky to have them. Similarly, also, we live and die by the skylight frame. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but it's posted up in our dining room, and we can see everything that we've got going on. So that's really critical, the communication around that. I think also just setting boundaries is really important to me too. Like, these are the times that I'm in work mode. These are the times that I'm in home mode, because my children are still waking up in the middle of the night, and rest and sleep is very important and is a limited resource for me right now. But I think, the work's always going to be there. You can always pick it back up at any time. And so trying to find space for all of the things in my life, whether that's, the home time, the rest time, because that phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, I need to find time to fill my cup too and recharge. So trying to hold some boundaries, as much as I can, while still balancing it all, which is like an impossible task at the same time. But I think you muddle through it, and you make mistakes and you miss things sometimes, and you just try and balance it better next time.
What about you, Tina? You always seem to, you're so responsive and you're always on it. And I could tell you're juggling a lot. How do you do it all?
I mess up a lot. I will when my husband and I got married, we decided, it was a conversation. I think this is where age comes in, that when we had children, I was going to stay home. So a little over a decade later, when I went to work, it was a real challenge for us, because everybody was used to my being there and doing everything. And my kids were getting into the middle of, we had dance, we had soccer, we had hockey. We were constantly going, and we were outnumbered by children. There were 3 of them and 2 of us. So there were times when I would forget them, and somebody would call me and I'd be like, oh my God, I didn't pick her up at dance. I'm on my way. But it takes a village. So for us, we had support from other parents, but I'm very fortunate to have my parents. We have an in-law. So when they weren't going south, they were there to help for us. And even now, I will get a text later on today saying, I'm going to cook this for dinner. How's that? So even at the stage of life that I'm at, it's a challenging balance, and you need support from other people.
I mean, what I'll say, just from the periphery, in probably have engaging with you all in stressful situations at some point over the last, several years, is that all 3 of you have a really great sense of humor. All 3 of you are incredibly positive and super solution oriented. Like, I can't ever remember a time, and maybe you're just good at hiding it from me, but being like super down and negative about things. So, maybe there's some outlook there too. At least that's how that's how I see it. To
If you
all
don't
three,
laugh, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So, you might as well be positive about it.
well, I appreciate sincerely all the support that you've given me, personally and professionally here too. Question to all three of you, starting with Allison. What advice, could be anything, what advice would you give to a young woman entering her career?
Oh my gosh. I think it's twofold. I think one, it's be curious, and I think two, raise your hand, right? Because nobody cares about your career as much as you care about your career. And so like you'll have great mentors and you'll have great people to help you along the way, but nobody cares about your career as much as you do. And so, I think staying curious and asking questions and raising your hand when opportunities come along is my biggest piece of advice, because, if you don't feel qualified for something, like, go for it. Like, why not? I mean, what's it going to hurt? Like, to try and to learn something new, and to just let people know that you're interested in growing and you're interested in continuing on in your career. And so, just getting that visibility and getting that opportunity to participate and be at the table. And you're never going to get that if you don't raise your hand and if you don't ask questions and if you don't, stay curious.
Melissa, what about you?
Kind of similar. I was going to say, say yes, especially to things that kind of scare you, right? Like, I feel like I've had a lot of those moments in my career where I've been asked to do something or like find out more about something, and you get like this feeling in your gut and you're like, oh, I don't know if I don't know anything about that. Okay, that's a little nerve-wracking. And I feel like those are the moments when you learn the most and you build a new skill. And I feel like sometimes we have, probably just as humans, like a fear of failure and public failure, in the workplace. And I just think, pushing past that, and even if you fail, you've learned something. Like, those are just the moments when you learn the most. And so accepting that risk, I know, haha, insurance, accepting that risk and taking those chances, I think is just when you grow so much, in your skill set, and makes you more resilient and more knowledgeable. And so follow those like feelings where it's like, that's kind of scary, but maybe a little intriguing or exciting. Like, go down those paths and find that.
Tina, what about you? What advice would you give?
Always say yes. And it's similar to what Allison and Melissa said. I agree. And I have a daughter who's graduating from high school, and it's a whole new world. And get into an uncomfortable situation, challenge yourself. Don't worry about what other people think, and make sure you're happy. You only live once.
All right, to close it out, and I know it might be hard to pick one for some people, but Allison, who was one of the most impactful women in your life, and why?
Oh my gosh, that's so easy. It's my mom. I mean, I've talked about her a lot today, but she has not only been the most impactful person for me personally, but, also professionally. I mean, she has set the example for me on how to be, number one, a good human, how to be a good friend, how to be a good mom, and how to be a good professional. She always makes the right decision. And regardless of how she might have not been as confident in those decisions, like, she never let that on to her kids, and she never let us know that she thought otherwise, right? And she was at everything that we did, and she's still at everything that I do. Back when I thought I was an athlete and I tried to like do sports and things, like, she still came to like races that I ran and bike races that I biked. And I'm like, she is literally the best human on the planet. And she finds time to show up for her kids and her grandkids and her people at work and her team. And like, that's who has been the most impactful person to me. And it's who I look to. I want to emulate and I want to be like, and if she listens to this, she's going to kill me for talking about her so much today. But I love her so much. And I'm so thankful that number one, she's my mom. And number two, that I've had her to model my career after.
Melissa, what about you? Who is the most impactful woman in your life and why?
So I would also say my mom, but sorry, Mom, I'm going to pick another person because Allison just really went into depth on her mom. I would also say Andrea, who's our president. I think she has been such a great example for me of like authentic women's leadership. Like if you know Andrea, you know she is just fully who she is. And that's been really empowering for me. And I do think Andrea's always been one of those people for me. Like I think they say like when you go up the career ladder, make sure you like go down and like look back and pull someone else up too. And like Andrea's absolutely done that for me every step of the way throughout my career. She has really like invested in me and mentored me, and just very thankful for her and her leadership.
Tina, last but not least.
I'm going to say my mom. I would say Andrea. Now you both have taken both of my answers, but for me, my mom, she stayed home with us. When we got a little bit older, she did go to work, but she was at everything. But she's such a supportive person. Anywhere in this town, if anybody sees me or her, she's Grammy. How's Grammy Kelly doing? So that's what I want to be when I grow up and I'm old. So just that person that you can depend. You can depend on her for everything. She's going to make dinner for us tonight. She does our laundry. She will drive somewhere if somebody needs a ride. My friends show up at my parents' door to say hello. So she's just a saint, and I love her.
And she always makes us cookies.
And she makes cookies for Ametros events.
Oh, now I'm hungry. Well, it's settled. As we celebrate Women's History Month, can't thank Allison and Melissa and Tina enough just for their leadership, being incredible women who are mentors and friends and colleagues and leaders here at Ametros, and for providing us with your insights and perspectives and your histories here. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn Deane.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening to It's Settled, the Ametros podcast. You can find us on major streaming platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Your review means a lot. It helps us share these inspiring stories with more listeners. For more information about Ametros, visit our website at ametros.com. That's ametros.com.
Join us next time for more uplifting stories. It's settled. Stay inspired and keep making a positive impact.